Hello, this is my second video and is a review of the 42mm Dayan Zhanchi. I have the colored version. Starting with the box, it's this Dayan 42mm Zhanchi, has the guy on it. And the box, on this side it has actually a plastic window here. Plastic, which I haven't seen before. And the box is made of cardboard and it's orange. Now for the size comparison. When I took this cube out of the box for the first time and even just held the box, I thought that it was very small, and I've watched some videos and this cube felt a lot smaller than I expected it was going to be, and it's also very lightweight. Comparing it to a regular Zhanchi, it is quite a bit smaller. In fact, it is smaller than my WIT 2 2x2. It just has a very kind of small, compact feel to it, and it's just quite a bit smaller than I expected. So it fits in your pocket very well. I've had this cube for a while, but here are my first impressions that I had right when I got it out of the box. The cube was very scratchy, it felt like, very stiff. It was very tight with no lubrication whatsoever. So the corner cutting was very limited, and overall it felt very poor. Compared to a regular Zhanchi out of the box, it was a disappointment. The first thing I did to this cube was just take it apart completely, and it was so tight out of the box that I had to remove a center cap and take out this top screw just to get the cube apart. It was that tight. And once I had it apart, I lubed the core as well as the surfaces with Lubex. However, assembling the cube was quite difficult. The center pieces, as I'll show you later, are able to kind of rotate and pivot all around, which leaves the edge pieces very difficult to keep in, because you would put an edge piece in and then go for another one, and then the first edge piece would pop out. So that was quite difficult. However, it wasn't too much of an issue, and I think I could do it better this time. This center caps, the main difference from the regular Zhanchi, as you can see the screw is on the outside, whereas on a normal Zhanchi the screw is inside this kind of tube area. So on this cube, if you have it loose, the center caps will not go on because the screws interfere. So you have to get it to a certain tension before you can even get the center caps on. However, I have it tightened a significant amount beyond that position, so it isn't really an issue. Once I got it back together, the cube was a lot better. It was smoother, much faster, it would cut corners a whole lot more. However, the cube would pop every once in a while. And this is my smallest cube, so I'd most likely to take this one into a public area to solve or to practice, like school or whatnot. So if it did pop and the pieces went everywhere, I wouldn't want to have to try and be searching for pieces around a public area. And if someone's watching you solve and your cube pops and you put the edge piece in wrong, when you try to fix the parity, you'll obviously be accused of cheating and people won't think you can solve the cube. So I want to avoid that. However, tightened, it still has a nice feel to it. It doesn't really cut 45, but that's not really needed. However, this cube, I have not had it pop since I've put it at my current tension. To help with recognition, I have dyed my yellow side black, and I did that using RIT fabric dye, of course black, and I used a mixture of the dye with some acetone, try and get it to take. And if you want to figure out how to do that or dye any puzzles, I'll put a link in the description to the video that I used dyeing this puzzle. Comparing this cube to a Zhanchi, it has a very different feel to it, even though the pieces are basically all identical. This one has just kind of a better feel to it, and it's kind of a lighter, faster feel to it than a regular Zhanchi, which after using this cube, the regular Zhanchi kind of feels a little sluggish, whereas this one is very fast and fluid. Another thing comparing it is that since the cube is so small, it makes it easier to kind of see the right and left sides without moving your head too much, whereas on a Zhanchi, you have to kind of turn the cube a little more than on a 42. So some people say that has better look ahead results. However, I haven't really noticed much of a difference in my look ahead, although the cube has a different feel to it, and I like that feel a lot better than the standard Zhanchi. Here I've pulled out some pieces on the cubes, and as you can see, the pieces are basically identical except they're smaller on this cube, and that is really the only difference between the pieces. The center caps, however, if you can see on this cube, there's a little post that comes down from the bottom of the center cap, whereas there is no post on this cube. So the center caps are free to kind of pivot around more. So as you can see, just sitting here, the cube it kind of wants to pop these, see there, it just kind of pops edge pieces out randomly when the cube is partly disassembled, whereas this cube does not do that at all. So otherwise, basically the pieces and the structure is exactly the same as a regular Zhanchi, except for the fact that this one is, of course, colored. So here are my final thoughts on this cube. I really do love this cube. The feel of it is very nice. It just has that kind of unique feel that I don't really find with a Dayan 57mm Zhanchi. And it feels faster, in my opinion, although my times are about the same with either cube. And I haven't had this cube for too long, so it's still breaking in, but it is certainly my main, and it is just a wonderful cube, and I would suggest every cuber should have one of these, because they're just a great fun little thing that you can take out, or maybe even use as your main. So now that I've gotten the review section done, I'm just going to do a quick solve video